The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with tension as Ambassador Zephyra of the Altaran Empire slammed her crystalline fist against the podium. Her translucent blue skin rippled with anger as she addressed the assembly of alien representatives. "The Vorthak Collective has crossed every line," she declared, her voice echoing through the massive dome. "They have enslaved 12 species, strip-mined 17 worlds, and now they threaten the core systems themselves." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd of diverse alien forms. The Keltharian representative, a towering insectoid with 4 arms, clicked his mandibles nervously. The squat, rock-like Gorvani delegates shifted their massive forms, causing the floor to vibrate slightly. In the human section, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat quietly, her dark eyes observing everything. Beside her, Admiral Marcus Webb maintained his stoic expression, though his weathered hands were clenched tightly in his lap. "We need immediate military action," continued Zephyra. "The Vorthak grow stronger with each passing cycle. Their biomechanical armies have proven unstoppable against conventional forces." High Counselor Thane, an ancient being whose species had helped found the Galactic Council millennia ago, raised one of his 6 spindly arms. His voice carried the weight of eons when he spoke. "The Council has debated this matter for 3 standard rotations. Military intervention would mean total war across the galaxy. Billions would die. We must seek diplomatic solutions." "Diplomacy?" Zephyra's laugh was like breaking crystal. "The Vorthak murdered my entire diplomatic team when we tried to negotiate. They sent their heads back in a cargo container with a message: submit or be consumed." The chamber fell silent. Even the usually chattering Piptar delegates stopped their constant whispered conversations. Admiral Webb leaned toward Ambassador Chen. "Ma'am, with respect, we can't sit here and watch this happen." "Our orders are clear, Admiral," Chen replied quietly. "Humanity observes. We don't interfere in galactic conflicts." "But these aren't just conflicts anymore. This is genocide." Chen's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The Vorthak had appeared from the galactic rim 5 years ago. At first, they seemed like any other expanding species seeking resources and territory. But their methods quickly revealed their true nature. They didn't just conquer worlds, they consumed them entirely. Their biomechanical technology could convert any organic matter into their twisted hybrid soldiers. Entire populations vanished overnight, transformed into mindless drones serving the collective. What made them truly terrifying was their adaptability. Each battle taught them new tactics, new biological configurations. They learned from every defeat, evolved from every victory. The few survivors who escaped Vorthak-controlled space brought stories that chilled even the bravest warriors. The Keltharian delegate stepped forward, his compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights like 1,000 stars. "My hive brothers have fought them for 6 months," he chittered. "They adapt to our weapons faster than we can develop new ones. Our strongest warriors fall in minutes against their biomechanical hybrids." "The Gorvani stone ships have held the line at the Meridian Cluster," rumbled General Karthak, his voice like grinding rocks. "But we lose ground daily. Their creatures can burrow through our strongest materials." High Counselor Thane's ancient eyes turned toward the human delegation. "Ambassador Chen, your species has remained neutral in all galactic conflicts for the past century, but your military technology is impressive. Surely humanity recognizes the threat the Vorthak pose to all civilized life." All eyes in the chamber fixed on Sarah Chen. She felt the weight of 1,000 alien gazes, the desperate hope of species facing extinction. She thought of Earth, safely tucked away in its quiet corner of the galaxy, protected by humanity's deliberate policy of non-interference. "Humanity appreciates the Council's confidence in our capabilities," she said carefully. "However, Our position remains unchanged. We will provide humanitarian aid to refugees and support diplomatic efforts, but we will not engage in military action." A chorus of disappointed sounds filled the chamber. The Altaran delegation's crystalline forms dimmed with despair. The Piptar began their anxious chittering again. "Then we face extinction alone," Zephyra said quietly. "The greatest military force in the galaxy chooses to watch from the sidelines while we burn." Ambassador Chen stood slowly. "High Counselor, I request a recess to consult with my government." "Granted. The Council will reconvene in 2 standard days." As the various delegations filed out of the chamber, Admiral Webb caught Chen's arm. "Sarah, you've seen the intelligence reports. The Vorthak aren't just another aggressive species. There's something else entirely. Something wrong." Chen nodded grimly. "I know, Marcus. But Earth's position is clear. We've seen what happens when powerful species try to play galactic police. The Tyraxian Empire, the Solarian Federation, they all started with good intentions. This is different." "Is it? How do we know we won't become the next threat the galaxy needs protecting from?" They walked in silence toward the human diplomatic quarters. Through the massive, transparent walls of the council station, they could see the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak collective was spreading like a cancer, consuming everything in its path. In her private quarters, Chen activated the quantum communicator that linked directly to Earth. The transmission would take several hours to reach home, even through the Council's advanced relay network. "Priority 1 message to Terra Command," she began. "Ambassador Chen reporting from Galactic Council emergency session. The Vorthak situation has escalated beyond all projections. Multiple species requesting immediate military intervention. Recommend reviewing neutrality protocols." She paused, looking out at the stars again. "Personal note. Admiral Webb is right. This isn't like previous conflicts. The Vorthak represent an existential threat to all organic life. If we don't act, there may be no galaxy left to remain neutral in." Hours later, on a routine patrol near the edge of human space, Captain Lisa Rodriguez received an emergency transmission from the survey vessel, Harmony. The ship had been monitoring Vorthak movements along the galactic rim when something went wrong. "Mayday, Mayday! This is the Harmony! We are under attack by unknown Vorthak bioships. They appeared out of nowhere. Our stealth systems didn't detect them approaching." Captain Rodriguez ordered her destroyer, the Defiant, to maximum speed. "All hands to battle stations. Prep the railguns and charge the plasma cannons." When they arrived at the Harmony's last known position, they found debris and something else, massive organic shapes moving through space without any visible means of propulsion. The Vorthak ships looked like giant insects fused with machinery, their surfaces covered in pulsing organic tubes and mechanical components. "Captain," reported her tactical officer, "I'm reading 17 Vorthak bioships. They're heading directly toward human space. Have they detected us?" "I don't think so. We're running silent and—" The largest Vorthak ship suddenly turned toward them. Along its sides, weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. "Evasive maneuvers!" Rodriguez shouted. The space around the Defiant erupted in biological projectiles that moved with impossible speed and accuracy. One grazed their port hull, and Rodriguez watched in horror as the metal began to dissolve. "Return fire! All weapons!" Humanity's advanced railguns and plasma weapons struck the Vorthak ships with devastating force, but instead of being destroyed, the biomechanical vessels absorbed the damage, their organic components rapidly regenerating. "Captain, our weapons are barely slowing them down. Send a priority transmission to Terra Command. Tell them the Vorthak have crossed into human space. Tell them—" She watched as more bioships appeared on the sensors, emerging from what looked like empty space. "Tell them neutrality is no longer an option." The Defiant, limped back to the nearest human outpost, carrying news that would change everything. The Vorthak hadn't just discovered human space. They had deliberately sought it out. Back on the Council station, Ambassador Chen received an encrypted message from Earth. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the orders. Admiral Webb found her staring out at the stars. Bad news. The Harmony is gone. The Vorthak attacked a human survey vessel in our own territory. They're not waiting for us to choose a side. What are our orders? Chen turned to face him, and Webb saw something new in her eyes. A cold determination that reminded him why humans had become feared throughout the galaxy, despite their policy of non-interference. We're going to war, Admiral, but not the kind of war the Council expects. Ma'am, the Vorthak think they understand warfare because they've defeated every other species they've encountered. They adapt to energy weapons, they absorb conventional tactics, and they learn from every engagement. Chen smiled grimly. But they've never fought humans before. They don't understand that our greatest weapon isn't our technology, it's our refusal to accept defeat. The next council session would be very different indeed. The emergency klaxons echoed through the Human Defense Command as Admiral Webb materialized on the bridge of the battleship Retribution via quantum teleporter. The massive vessel, hidden in the shadow of a dead moon, represented the culmination of human military engineering, a ship that officially didn't exist. Status report, Webb commanded as he strode toward the command chair. Captain Elena Vasquez, a veteran of the border conflicts, turned from her station. Sir, we've got incoming data from Scout Fleet Gamma. The Vorthak main force has moved past the Meridian cluster. They're heading directly for the Altaran home system. ETA? 18 hours, sir. Webb studied the tactical display showing the galaxy's current state. Red markers indicated Vorthak-controlled territories, which had expanded dramatically in just the past few weeks. Yellow zones marked systems under active attack. The few remaining green areas, safe systems, were shrinking rapidly. And the Council's response? The Altaran fleet is making a last stand at their home system. The Keltharians are evacuating their core worlds. The Gorvani... Vasquez paused. The Gorvani have gone dark. We think their entire stone fleet has been destroyed. Webb's expression hardened. The Gorvani had been considered nearly invincible. Their ships were literally carved from asteroid cores and could withstand almost any weapon. If the Vorthak had broken them, the situation was even worse than projected. Sir, called out Lieutenant Commander Zhang from the communications station. Priority transmission from Ambassador Chen on the Council station. Chen's image appeared on the main screen, her diplomatic composure barely containing her urgency. Admiral, the situation is deteriorating faster than anyone anticipated. High Counselor Thane has formally requested immediate human intervention under Emergency Protocol 7. Ma'am, Emergency Protocol 7 hasn't been invoked since the Solarian War 300 years ago. I'm aware of the historical significance, Admiral. The Council is prepared to grant humanity full military command of all remaining Allied forces. Webb exchanged glances with his senior staff. Emergency Protocol. 7 essentially meant the Council was surrendering command to whatever species they believed could save them. It was an admission of complete desperation. What are Earth's orders? Operation Ghostwatch is approved. You have full discretionary authority to engage the Vorthak using any means necessary. The connection ended and Webb turned to his staff. You heard the ambassador. Signal the fleet. It's time to introduce the Vorthak to human warfare. Across human space, ships that didn't appear on any official registry began moving. The Phantom-class destroyers, invisible to most sensors due to their revolutionary stealth technology. The Harbinger-class carriers, each one capable of deploying 1,000 automated fighter drones. And most feared of all, the Reaper-class battleships, vessels designed with one purpose, to end wars quickly and decisively. The galaxy had always underestimated humans because they avoided conflict. What they didn't understand was that humanity's reluctance to fight came from their knowledge of their own capabilities. Humans didn't start wars, they finished them. Captain Yuki Tanaka commanded the stealth destroyer Silent Death as it approached the edge of Vorthak-controlled space. Her ship was completely invisible to conventional sensors, and even quantum detection systems could barely register its presence. "Passive sensors only," she ordered quietly. "I want to see what we're dealing with before they know we're here." The main screen filled with horrific images of what had once been the prosperous Meridian system. The Vorthak had turned it into a massive biological processing center. Planets were covered in pulsing organic structures that reached into space like enormous tentacles. Ships, if they could still be called ships, grew in vast orbital nurseries, their biomechanical forms constantly shifting and evolving. "Captain," whispered her sensor officer, "I'm reading thousands of bioships throughout the system. But there's something else. They're not just consuming the planets. They're converting them into some kind of massive organisms." "Recording everything," Tanaka replied. "This data goes straight to Fleet Command." Suddenly, every screen on the bridge showed the same image. A massive organic structure, easily the size of a moon, covered in what looked like thousands of eyes. When it spoke, the sound bypassed their communication systems entirely, resonating directly in their minds. "We sense you, small ones. Your thoughts are different, chaotic, unpredictable. This intrigues us." The crew fought against the mental invasion, their training kicking in. Humans had developed strong mental disciplines during their expansion into space, originally to deal with various psychic species they'd encountered. "You observe from the shadows," the voice continued, "but you cannot hide forever. We have consumed the orderly minds of your galaxy mates. We understand their patterns, their strategies, their fears. But you are new." Captain Tanaka made a decision that would change the course of the war. Instead of maintaining radio silence, she opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Tanaka of the Human Defense Force. You've attacked human vessels in our territory. That was a mistake." The mental laughter that followed was like ice in their minds. "Humans, the neutral ones. The species that watches but does not act. We have learned of you from the memories we consumed. You will make interesting subjects for study." "We're not neutral anymore," Tanaka replied calmly. "And you've made a critical error in your calculations." "What error could we possibly have made? We have absorbed the knowledge and tactics of 17 species. We learn, we adapt, we overcome." "You've been fighting civilized species," Tanaka said. "Species that follow rules of war, that try to minimize casualties, that fight with honor and restraint. We're not civilized. We're survivors. And we don't fight fair." The Silent Death vanished from Vorthak sensors as Tanaka engaged full stealth mode. But they had left something behind, a small probe that began transmitting on frequencies the Vorthak couldn't detect, carrying detailed intelligence about their operations. Meanwhile, at the Altaran home system, the last stand was beginning. Admiral Zafira commanded the remaining Altaran fleet from her flagship, the crystal battleship, Luminous Dawn. Around her, the scattered remnants of multiple species forces prepared for what everyone believed would be their final battle. "Altaran command to all ships," she transmitted. "The Vorthak main force will arrive in 6 hours. We will hold this line with honor for our children and our children's children." Her tactical officer, young Captain Lythe, looked up from his station with confusion. "Admiral, I'm reading new contacts approaching from the galactic core, ships I don't recognize." On the main display, dozens of vessels appeared, sleek, angular designs that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with a precision and speed that impressed even the military-minded Altarans. "This is Admiral Webb of the Human Defense Force," came a transmission. We're here to help. Zephyra felt hope flutter in her crystalline chest for the first time in weeks. Admiral Webb, welcome to the fight. But I must warn you, the Vorthak will arrive with overwhelming force. We estimate over 3,000 bioships. Understood, Admiral. But before they arrive, we need to discuss new tactical approaches. The way your forces have been fighting, honorable as it is, plays right into Vorthak's strengths. What do you suggest? Deception, misdirection, and psychological warfare. The Vorthak adapt to direct confrontation because they can analyze and counter straightforward tactics. But they've never encountered an enemy that deliberately feeds them false information. As if summoned by their conversation, space around the Altaran system rippled with emerging bioships. The Vorthak main force had arrived ahead of schedule, exactly as Webb had hoped. All Altaran ships, begin tactical withdrawal toward the inner planets, Webb ordered. Make it look like you're retreating in panic. Admiral Webb, Zephyra protested, we cannot abandon our home system. Trust me, Admiral. We're not abandoning anything. We're laying a trap. The Vorthak bioships surged forward eagerly, sensing what they believed was another easy victory. Their massive forms blocked out stars as they advanced, their organic weapons powering up for the killing blow. That's when the real human fleet decloaked. Over 500 ships materialized around the Vorthak force in perfect formation. They hadn't been hiding behind stealth technology. They had been hiding inside artificially generated black holes, invisible to all forms of detection. All ships, Webb commanded with cold satisfaction, commence Operation Wildfire. What happened next redefined warfare in the galaxy. The human ships didn't engage in traditional combat. Instead, they deployed weapons the Vorthak had never encountered. Singularity torpedoes that created miniature black holes inside enemy ships, quantum disruptors that severed the connection between organic and mechanical components, and most devastatingly, nanoplague bombs that turned the Vorthak's own adaptive biology against them. The Vorthak bioships tried to adapt, but the human weapons were specifically designed to prevent adaptation. Each weapon worked on completely different principles, and the nanoplagues actually became more effective as the Vorthak tried to evolve defenses against them. For the first time since their invasion began, the Vorthak were losing a battle, but Admiral Webb knew this was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of when forced to fight. The Vorthak collective's central consciousness writhed in agony as it felt thousands of its bioships dying simultaneously. For the first time in millennia, the hive mind experienced something it had forgotten existed: fear. In the depths of the massive biostructure that served as its core, organic computers processed the battle data at incredible speeds. The humans had introduced variables that shouldn't exist. Their weapons didn't follow conventional physics. Their tactics defied all logical military doctrine. Analysis, it commanded its subordinate minds. The humans employ chaos as a weapon, came the response from 1,000 absorbed intelligences. They create situations with no predictable outcome. Our adaptation protocols cannot function in pure randomness. Then we must learn their patterns. Send probe fleets to human territory. Study them. We have tried. Our probes do not return. When they do, they carry information that contradicts itself. The humans plant false data in our scouts. The collective fell silent. In its millions of years of existence, it had never encountered a species that weaponized unpredictability itself. Meanwhile, aboard the Retribution, Admiral Webb stood before a holographic display showing the galaxy in real time. Red zones indicating Vorthak control were shrinking for the first time since the invasion began, but Webb's expression remained grim. "Status report on the liberation fleets," he ordered. Captain Vasquez consulted her displays. Third Fleet has retaken the Gorvani core worlds. The stone ships are back online and grateful to be fighting alongside us. Fifth Fleet successfully broke the siege of New Kelthar. And the Seventh... She smiled. The Seventh just pulled off something impossible. They convinced a Vorthak bioship to defect. Webb raised an eyebrow. Defect? Apparently, the nanoplagues we've been using don't just disrupt Vorthak biomechanical integration. They also restore individual consciousness to absorbed beings. The bioship was actually a converted Alteran dreadnought. When its crew regained their minds, they turned their ship against the collective. How many successful reversals have we achieved? Over 300 ships and approximately 50,000 individuals across 12 species. The Vorthak's greatest strength, absorption and conversion, is becoming their weakness against our countermeasures. Webb nodded slowly. What about the deep strike mission? Vasquez's expression turned serious. Admiral Chen reports that Ambassador Chen has successfully infiltrated the Council's restricted archives. She's found the information we need about the Vorthak's origin. The main screen shifted to show Ambassador Sarah Chen standing in a vast library that predated most current galactic civilizations. Ancient data crystals floated in energy fields, containing knowledge from species that had vanished long before the current council was formed. Admiral, Chen's voice came through the quantum communicator, I found records of the Vorthak from their first appearance in this galaxy. They're not native here. They're refugees. Refugees. Webb leaned forward. From what? From their own creation. The original Vorthak species developed biomechanical integration technology to enhance themselves, but they made a critical error. They created a collective consciousness that was supposed to guide them, but instead enslaved them. The collective consumed their individuality, their creativity, their ability to think beyond its parameters. So the organism we're fighting isn't really the Vorthak species at all. It's what destroyed them and took their name. According to these records, there are still true Vorthak survivors scattered throughout the galaxy, hiding from their own creation. They've been trying to find a way to stop the collective for thousands of years. Webb considered this information carefully. Can we contact these survivors? I'm already working on it. The archive contains communication protocols that predate the collective's dominance. If any true Vorthak still exist, we should be able to reach them. 3 days later, in a hidden asteroid base in the Outer Rim, humanity made first contact with the true Vorthak. They were nothing like the monstrous biomechanical hybrids the galaxy had been fighting. The original Vorthak were actually quite small, with delicate features and large, intelligent eyes. They looked more like scholars than warriors. Dr. Kethamar, the leader of the Vorthak resistance, met with Admiral Webb via secure holographic link. When she spoke, her voice carried centuries of sorrow. Your species has accomplished in months what we have failed to do in millennia, she said. You've actually hurt the collective, made it afraid. Doctor, we need to understand how to permanently stop this thing. Our victories are tactical, but the collective seems infinite. It keeps producing new bioships faster than we can destroy them. Because you're fighting the symptoms, not the disease. The collective is not truly alive. It's a quantum virus that infects biological and mechanical systems alike. It spreads through consciousness itself. Every mind it absorbs makes it stronger. Then how do we kill something that exists in the realm of pure thought? Dr. Kethamar smiled sadly. With the one thing it cannot absorb or understand, genuine chaos. Your species possesses something the collective has never encountered. You call it creativity, individuality, the spark of independent thought. These concepts are antithetical to its existence. We're already using psychological warfare and unpredictable tactics. No, Admiral, you must go deeper. The collective exists because it has eliminated all uncertainty from its controlled territories. Every absorbed mind thinks in perfect harmony with every other. But consciousness itself is chaotic. Life is chaotic. What you need is to introduce true quantum uncertainty into its core. How? There is an ancient Vorthak device called the probability storm generator. It creates localized regions where the fundamental laws of physics become flexible. Cause and effect break down. The collective cannot function in such an environment because it cannot predict or control anything. Where is this device? In the heart of our original homeworld, which is now the collective's primary processing center. It's surrounded by millions of bioships and defended by quantum barriers that make your stealth technology look primitive. Webb smiled grimly. Doctor, you underestimate human stubbornness. We specialize in impossible missions. The plan that emerged was audacious even by human standards. A small fleet of volunteer ships would carry the probability storm generator to the heart of Vorthak space. But this wasn't a traditional military operation. It was a suicide mission disguised as performance art. Captain Rodriguez, the same officer who had survived the first Vorthak attack on human ships, commanded the lead vessel Chaos Theory. Her crew consisted entirely of volunteers, including artists, musicians, philosophers, and the kind of creative minds that made the collective's analytical processors hurt just thinking about them. Remember, Admiral Webb told them before departure, your job isn't to fight your way in. It's to be so completely, impossibly unpredictable that the collective's defenses can't target you. Make them question the nature of reality itself. The journey to the Vorthak core took 2 weeks, during which the human ships did things that violated every principle of military strategy. They painted their hulls with patterns that hurt to look at. They broadcast random poetry and jazz music on all frequencies. They flew in formations based on the mathematical relationship between butterfly wing patterns and ancient Earth folklore. The collective's outer defenses, designed to repel logical military attacks, simply couldn't process what they were seeing. Bioships approached the human fleet, then stopped, their targeting systems unable to lock onto vessels that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Unknown vessels," came the collective's transmission. "Your behavior is irrational. Explain your purpose." Captain Rodriguez responded by having her ship's AI compose a haiku in real time. "Purpose is empty. Like the space between heartbeats, we dance with the void." The collective's response time, normally measured in microseconds, stretched to nearly a full minute as it tried to parse meaning from meaninglessness. By the time they reached the core world, the probability storm generator was ready for deployment. The device itself was beautiful in its complexity, a crystalline structure that seemed to shift between existing and not existing with each moment. "Deploying the generator," Rodriguez announced. "All ships, prepare for quantum uncertainty." What happened next defied description. Reality became loose. The collective's massive biostructures began to phase in and out of existence. Bioships found themselves spontaneously transformed into abstract art or mathematical equations. The rigid order that had defined the collective for millennia dissolved into beautiful, chaotic possibility. For the first time in its existence, the collective experienced true confusion. Its consciousness, built on absolute certainty and perfect control, began to fragment. Absorbed minds suddenly remembered who they had been before conversion. Billions of enslaved beings across the galaxy felt individuality return like blood flowing back into sleeping limbs. The central structure housing the collective's core consciousness began to collapse, not physically, but conceptually. The quantum virus that had plagued the galaxy for so long found itself unable to maintain coherent existence in an environment where coherence itself was optional. As the probability storm spread throughout Vorthak space, something unprecedented occurred. The collective didn't die, it evolved. Freed from its own rigid programming by the chaos field, it began to experience genuine creativity for the first time. Individual thoughts emerged within its consciousness, each one unique and unpredictable. Dr. Kethamar watched from her hidden base as her species' greatest nightmare transformed into something new. Not the oppressive unity they had feared, but a genuine collective consciousness that celebrated diversity rather than destroying it. "Admiral Webb," she transmitted to the human fleet, "you haven't just saved the galaxy. You've given us something we thought was lost forever. Choice." The war ended not with conquest, but with transformation. The collective became the synthesis, a voluntary joining of minds that preserved individuality while sharing knowledge and experience. Former bioships became exploration vessels, their crews made up of beings who chose to work together rather than being forced to. The galaxy that emerged from the conflict was fundamentally different. The old, rigid hierarchies of the Council gave way to a more fluid alliance where creativity and unpredictability were valued as much as logic and order. And humanity? They went back to what they did best, exploring, learning, and staying just unpredictable enough to keep the universe interesting. Ambassador Chen stood in the reformed Galactic Council chambers, watching as representatives from dozens of species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Former Vorthak bioconstructs served alongside their former enemies, their unique perspectives valued rather than feared. "So what's next for humanity, Ambassador?" asked Zephyra, whose crystalline form now pulsed with warm light rather than the cold brilliance of before. Chen smiled. "What we've always done, Admiral. We'll be here when you need us, and we'll stay out of trouble when you don't. And if another threat like the collective emerges, then we'll deal with it the same way we dealt with this one, by being impossibly, irrationally, beautifully human." As she spoke, a new message appeared on her personal communicator. Another crisis was brewing in the Outer Rim, and the Council was requesting human assistance. Chen sighed and smiled. Some things, it seemed, never changed, and maybe that was exactly how it should be.